Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. I'm taking you on the ride of BCI-based movie analysis. We're going to be reviewing two movies here, 28 years later and Alien Romulus. We're going to review the cognitive and emotional experience of these movies. It's a BCI-based approach because the tool I'm using to capture the emotional and cognitive experience is a multimodal brain-computer interface. So it's a system that captures a bunch of biosignals that combines them to extract cognitive, emotional, and physiological metrics. So the equipment I'm using, you see here, there's the biometric wristband. It's a shimmer. Okay, it measures PPG and EDA, these two metrics here. PPG is what makes it possible to capture heart dynamics. EDA is skin conductance, so those are two metrics. I explain later what they lead to. We're not going to be looking at heart dynamics today, but EDA, we're going to be looking into it. Then there's the headset, the nucleus termis itself. That's my own build. It measures EEG and facial EMG. So facial EMG is facial muscle activity. EEG are brain waves, brain activity. There's a POV camera, we don't see it very well here, so it captures what's in front of the wearer. And then, not pertinent today, but there's also a GPS and ultra-wideband positioning system. So when we do experience where we walk indoor or walk outdoor, we can geolocate the metrics and the experience as people feel it. So this is a piece of equipment. You can see this is me wearing it in the movie theater here. So it's a piece of equipment. It's surprisingly comfortable. After a few hours, you start to feel a little bit of tension points, but when you're used to it, I can wear it for hours. It's adjustable, so this is what I've been wearing in the movie. This is taken during 28 years later, so it's not too visible. I mean, of course, when I'm sitting next to people, they'll see it, they ask a few questions about it, but generally, I mean, people don't ask, they walk by, and it's not visible so much that it catch the eye if someone just walks about. And anyway, so that makes it possible to go in the movie theater and not being harassed because I'm wearing this piece of equipment. The two movies, like I said, I went to see. So I went to see 28 years later about a week ago. Great movie, I loved it. Nothing much. I mean, I explained what comes out, but I think it's a good movie. It's a post-apocalyptic coming-of-age horror film, and it has 7.2 in Internet Movie Database. And if you go on Google, you'll find that 71% like this movie, which I think is in line with my own feelings. Then Alien Romulus, which I loved, and it's a science fiction horror film. Full disclosure, I'm a huge fan of the Alien franchise, so I see all of them religiously. Aliens vs Predator, I see all of them. I don't like all of them, but I like the whole world building and everything that happens here. So Alien Romulus, I saw it in August 2024. I saw it in movie theater when it came out. We have 7.1 at the movie database, which is very similar to 7.2 given for 28 years later, but we see a difference in the Google users. 88% like this movie, and I'll bring some piece of element in regard to this number later. So those are the two movies we'll be looking at today, the experience of. I'm going to, look, there's going to be spoilers. I'm going to literally show parts of the movies, explain what's going on, part of the story. It's more, I'm not about reviewing the story or all the details of the movie, but I will be showing like the most intense parts of the movie. So be aware if you're moving forward, you'll get the movie spoilers. So if you haven't seen them, I suggest you go see them before looking at this video. Okay, so now the question in hand, what do we do with those metrics? This is a question I was asked online recently. When I said I was going to share the results, people ask, oh, what are you going to share, like brainwaves? I mean, now the idea here is that those are the basic metrics that the biosignals that we're capturing with this equipment. But what's really interesting is that we can interpret those metrics to extract. And basically, I bring them into three categories. There's the cognitive metrics, which is something that relates more to the brain, your cognitive processes. You have emotional metrics, which is your facial expressions, how much you express emotions. And then you have physiological metrics, such as heart dynamics, skin conductance, like physiological arousal. And these three sets of metrics together gives us a pretty good estimate of what I call the state of mind of the user. So when you bring all of this together, you can pinpoint and say this is more or less of how this person was at this specific time. It's not a complete set. I mean, there's other metrics that I'm not monitoring that are informative. I can think of respirations. There's definitely other biosignals that are more or less equivalent that can contribute to the state of mind interpretation. But this set of metrics I found is very, very informative in regard to entertainment experiences or even marketing related experiences. That we find a lot of use for it, and it generally brings a pretty good understanding of what the person went through as part of the experience. A little bit more details. So we'll be looking specifically at cognitive engagement. Cognitive engagement, which you see the icon here, is how much you're connected with a movie. It's the sense of immersion. When we play video games, it's associated with the flow, how much you're really deep into the experience. The higher it goes, technically, the higher you are one with the experience. Okay. So cognitive engagement. Then we have physiological arousal. This one is a tricky one to explain. If you go in the scientific literature, they'll say it's like the intensity of emotions. I more or less agree with that. What I found over the years is that physiological arousal seems to be a combination of two elements. There's internal elements and external elements. First, the biosignal, what it is simply the activation of your autonomous nervous system. Physiological arousal, I find, is both how much you're reacting to surprising external stimuli. Okay, so if someone really starts to make a lot of noise, it's unexpected, and you're kind of surprised, your attention is drawn towards it, okay, but in a surprising way, this will raise your physiological arousal, but it also relates to how you feel inside, because if you're not disposed to this input, then it might not register. So it's kind of like a mix of how much I'm distracted and or distractible by external factors, and how much the environment is sending me surprising stimuli, which will distract me. So it's a little bit of a tricky one. We'll see how it goes in the movies, but this is my personal interpretation of what physiological arousal is. We'll look at several facial expressions. There are more than these, but those are the ones we'll be looking at today. So there's happiness. Happiness is simply how much you're smiling. You have it detects both small corner smiles, and large smiles. I explained how both are combined in this analysis. Anger is frowning. So when you're kind of like this, so it's not anger is the word is the label given to this expression, but you'll notice that it shows up in some situations which it's not necessarily true anger, okay, but it's frowning, so this is detected through frowning. Fear is kind of like a panic. It's a high intensity emotion that is lots of muscle activity. I'll show in the next slide which muscles are involved in each emotions. Surprise is the eyes are wide open. Usually the mouth is kind of released and forms a nose. So okay, this is surprise, the surprise expression. And sadness, which is a tricky one. I explained. Actually, the algorithm has a little bit of issues distinguishing between these three expressions. This is why I'm bringing it, but we'll explain all of this. What is most important is how they're going to be interpreted in the context of the movie analysis. When we do facial expression analysis, we need to understand which muscles are involved with each of the labels that are given. Now, I'll tell you how it works. The labels are given and are based on some element of scientific research, but what I found over time is that the labels are really good to communicate but you have to understand every time we name a label that it relates to a set of muscles. And what happens is that you see, if we look at surprise, for instance, okay, so surprise, here we see the set of muscles that are activated with surprise, and look at fear. Okay, and see how the two have have a very similar set of facial muscle activations. This is why when we interpret this data, we will consider, okay, there's true surprise, which is someone being extremely surprised, which is generally positive, and then fear. And fear has lots of muscles. You see in sadness as well, there's a few muscles in common compared to, let's say, contempt, which is a corner smile. So you see, so based on this is how we interpret it. That is, depending on which label is given, we see this and we interpret it in the context. But more muscle means more intensity usually, and then we have some emotions that are very well labeled. I'm thinking of happiness. Happiness has a very good modeling, well recognized by the model. Anger, but anger it's simply frowning. So anger will show up in multiple situations. It can be light friction, or it can be frustration. It can be simply sometimes when people are very focused and concentrated, attentive. Sometimes they frown a little bit, so then you'll see some kind of anger. So the idea here is that facial expression analysis, which is a little bit controversial in the field, but I hope that you'll see that it can be very useful. The idea is not to attach so much importance to the label, but more to understand that there's some facial activity going on, and the label helps us understand which emotion, or at least the level of intensity, and which type of emotions can possibly be expressed by the user. This being said, so now that this is behind us, okay, so the first step when I do this type of analysis, so I work in the field, I have I do this professionally, analysis of entertainment and other types of experiences. So the first step when I do this is emotional selections. As you've seen in the previous slide here, there's a set of 8 standard emotions that goes from neutral, which with no muscles, and all the others. Here I've selected 5 to represent the experiences. Now what happens is that presenting and analyzing 8 emotions is a lot to work with when you present it to a client, when you do some reporting. So what the first step that I usually do is try to bring down, okay, what is the set of pertinent emotions that needs to be considered here. So in 28 years later, this is the graph of the emotions that showed up during the movie. So this is a histogram, so it shows which percentage. You will always have neutral coming up on top. Okay, I'm trying to think. I say always. I try to think. I can't think of any situation where neutral didn't came on top. It's simply the absence of emotions. But keep in mind, the experience lasts 2 hours here. We're not always constantly expressing emotions. It's only at specific time that we'll express emotions. So neutral, I look at it, but I generally don't analyze it because it's just like the absence of emotion. It's always very dominant in an experience. But here becomes the interesting one. So you see we have anger, contempt, sadness, fear, and disgust, happiness, surprise. So you see, so now for this experience, which is 28 years later, we want to look at anger, contempt. Contempt and happiness are generally mixed together. I mix them together. So contempt is supposed to be a negative emotion, and it will show up as contempt when there's something like a little bit negative that comes up slightly negative. But most of the time, I'll tell you from my experience, I've seen that contempt is simply a small smile, and it has to do with the label, the decoder, the classifier, that when it sees a small smile, it marks it as contempt, and when it becomes a larger smile, then it becomes happiness. So generally what I do is I combine both together without bringing like a distinction between both. We'll see what the analysis that makes sense. It's always, you never analyze this type of data blindly, so you bring them together, but you still confirm with what's going on with the experience to see like what happened. Then we have sadness. That shows up here. We'll see what it is. It's sadness. I have to admit it's not the best label emotion, so the algorithm is not perfect yet. The algorithm, the system still confuse a little bit sadness with fear and surprise, so it's kind of like the same kind of set of muscles are activated. And we have fear here that shows up. Generally, if it wasn't that it's an horror movie that we're particularly interested in the fear aspect, I would cut it here and interpret here. But now what we'll see is I'll show you Alien Romulus. And what we see here is that indeed we have neutral, anger, and now we have surprise and fear that are strong here. So you see how things are different. So to do a complete comparison, what we'll do is we'll use the set that I identified. So neutral, we set it aside. We'll look at anger, we'll look at surprise, sadness, fear, and contempt and happiness will be brought together as a single matrix. So you see, so this is how we'll analyze this data here. So that's the first step. So we'll simply ignore discuss. There's a few. I did look into it in the background. There's a few notch, but for the purpose of this video, there's not a lot of pertinence in going further with discuss. Perfect. So now that we have this in hand, I think I put it back here. So you see, so we look at the behavior of these metrics and these 5 emotions. So let's look at the experience graph of 28 years later. So you see, so this is how it comes out. The blue line here is the effective start of the movie. So everything before that is before the movie. It's during the trailer's presentation. I was actually, there was a little bit of social going on, so I talked with the guy over there that was curious about the piece of equipment I was wearing. So we had a little bit of discussion, but so this is a proper start of the movie. What I see, so when we look at this already, we can see interesting stuff. So first of all, you see this region here, high engagement, high physiological arousal, so it's super interesting to see here. This is, when you look at everything all together, except this part here, this is the apex of the movie. This is where there was the strongest cognitive and physiological response to the movie. So we'll look into which scene triggered these. We have something similar that happened here. We'll look into it. Less engaging, but definitely same level of arousal. We don't see a lot of emotions. There's a peak here. This is before the movie. We can see where happiness came up. You know, it was kind of like a little bit all over the place, but we have like a huge peak here, a huge peak there. This is during the trailer. We won't look at it. And then we have fear that showed up here, here, and a few places. We're really looking here at peaks, you know, like outliers. The data is a little bit filtered, so consider that when we see a peak like this, it's probably a little bit higher and narrower. So, but I have to filter the data, otherwise it's just like too glitchy, you know, we end up like having trouble interpreting it. You see how sadness shows up here? And this is why I kept it in. You see, we don't have like strong peaks of sadness. What happens here, I'll tell you, generally I would discard this metric in the analysis because we don't see strong variations. I'm currently working on a algorithm, that some adaptive algorithm that will try to filter out these kind of sustained emotional states. What, you still have to look. I mean, it's not, I'm not saying that the muscles were not present, but this is generally when you see like something that's such like a constant value, it's generally rather like some uncertainty in the decoding. So all emotions are generally like shows up here and there, but here it's probably just like an issue with the model more than an actual emotion. But because it showed up in the previous graph, I had to address it up front, and also through this video I want to show you how I work the data, how I interpret the data, and this will helps to see like, okay, even though it showed up in the stats early on, it doesn't mean that it's something that is very important in terms of experience analysis. So here, given this, I won't be addressing sadness in this thing. Look, if you combine sadness, you combine with anger here that is also sustained, it shows that there's some level of tension during the whole course of the movie. That's what I think. But with the when we'll improve the model, I think these will kind of go away and we'll stick with high amplitude response. As these will tell us like good things about the movie. So before going into analyzing each of these elements, I think it's pertinent now just to show how Alien Romulus is different. And you see how, one, sorry about that. Okay, and you see Alien Romulus. Now we still have like this here, but it's arousal is not as much present. There's a few peaks. Okay, engagement, there's a strong peak here, a few peaks, but look at the emotional content. This is Okay, anger, fear, surprise. Anger is probably like lower on the lower end of emotional intensity, but fear, you see here, this is a strong, strong emotional response mixed with surprise, which is like wide open eyes. So you see, there's definitely like a huge thing going on here, and it lasts, look, for almost 30 minutes. You know, so for 30 minutes, there's a little bit of shift into like the internal states, but even engagement is high. So you see, this is extremely intense. For 30 minutes in the movie, this is like very, very sustained impression. And then it comes again here, you know, surprise, fear, arousal, a little bit more engagement. So you see, very, very strong response here. Not much going on here, a few smile here and there. Okay, but not much going on here. But look at the strength of these responses. Okay, so let's go into the details. We have the opportunity. So of course, seeing the matrix is one thing. Now we have to see. So let's look together and then at precise timing where some stuff happens. So let me just pull like here. So you see here we have strong engagement and we have arousal just a little bit after that. So you see, so these two together, give or take, were a little bit before. Now the labels are a bit offsetted. It's a little bit hard to track, but you see this here, this is 41 minutes 15 seconds. So give or take, this is somewhere between 39 minutes and 40 minutes. Now, make sure to notice that this is not in time, in movie time. This is in recording time. So the movie actually starts here. So it's so if you compare with a recording of the movie, it's a little bit offsetted. But let's go look what was going on at this specific time here in the movie. So around 39 minutes. Yep. So 39 minutes here. Whoop. Okay, and this is the scene here that we see. So this is captured from the movie. You see, like, this is when there's the first zombie. No, not the first one. There was one a little bit before, but this is the first really intense zombie fight that comes up. Lasts for a few minutes. They're chased after. There's an alpha zombie. If you've seen the movie, I mean, you see what I'm talking about. They hide in the house, and you see, like, it's really matched like the Matrix, the data. This is the part where there's the first real sense of danger in the movie. Both are chased by a bunch of movies and a bunch of zombies, and they need to move away. Now, this one is even more intense. Let's see what's going on here. So this one is straight on the 45 minutes mark. And for those who've seen the movie, I mean, you'll see what this scene is. Now, it's very dark. It's hard to see. But we see the water here, so obviously what this is the chase when they're crossing the river on the water bridge, and there's an alpha alpha zombie that runs after them like really, really fast. And this is a high intensity, because even though, I mean, of course it's a movie, you know they're gonna get out of it, but no, it comes really close, and there's a lot of intensity here. At first, they even refuse to let them in. Then the alpha seems to be is a very, very strong zombie. So that's like what's going on here. And there's even fear here. If we look at a little bit like 50 minutes in, a little bit further, that's 48 minutes. Yeah, so about 50 minutes in. So what's going on? That's probably the part where they actually fight. You see, this is when they refuse to open the door, and the alpha, I think at this point, is down, I think, and you see that, yeah, you see the arrows. I think at this point it's down, but they just want to make sure. You see exactly at 50 minutes, exactly on it, you see the alpha dying, and they just want to make sure that it's down and it's not coming up. So you see all the intensity here even leads to some facial expressions. Now we have here 1 and 20 minutes. 1 and 20 minutes. What we have here, 120 minutes is another part of intensity. So that's the part. Okay, just right before that, when the house, not the house, but you see, this is gas vapors, and the whole thing blows up. No, so of course, I mean, you see, it's explained this peak here. Now this one's funny because there's a joke here in the movie that's about 129. A little bit, no, 126 is here. Like I said, it's confused. So it's more like in 24. And when they're all sitting together, he shares the picture of his girlfriend. I don't know if you see. Oh, you see, this is it. They are laughing at his girlfriend because she had like lots of facial surgery, lots of plastic surgery, and they kind of like make fun of it. So it's really that's a joke in this movie that was picked up. So it's kind of funny. Yeah, you have to see the movie to really see what's going on here. Now, there's another point here. You see a little bit of intensity at give or take 34. So if I got 34 now, there was this part here where there's a fight with an alpha, which that's 32. 32, 34. The 33 is here. Sorry, my bad. So that's more like in the 30, 32 range. So you see, so this is this scene as well. Like I said, I mean, lots of spoiler here. So all of these scenes, and for people who've seen the movie, I mean, this is the scenes that really stood out in terms of action base of this movie. You know, the fight with the alpha. There's the house early on when they have to hide in the attic, and then we have like the gas station that blows up and the joke here, and you see. So when you look at this data now I think you'll agree with me. Some people say facial analysis doesn't work, or this type of biometric analysis doesn't work, or what is it. You see, it really nails down all of these key moments of the movie. This is not staged. This is true results as they come out, and from there we can build stats about how the movie was experienced. There's a last one here. Okay, this is the ending of the movie. There's a fight scene here, but the thing is that there's lots of music here. It's kind of like a different. It's a very different vibe. That there's. It's a little bit more humoristic here because the guy are kind of like dressed up in. You see, like they have like kind of a. I wouldn't be able to tell you what's the style here, but maybe Slavic, or I don't know, like what dressed like that, and they kind of like they have like these ninja moves, you know, that comes out. So it's really like offbeat. This part of the movie is really offbeat, and in fact, when you look at this, it's not fear that I felt here. I remember it in the movie, and I remember making a face of this weirdness that came up. So it was high intensity, but it was not negative. It wasn't fear. It should have been registered maybe as surprise or confusion. I don't know exactly why it was. The model detected it as fear. I would have to review that, but there was a strong emotional response, but it wasn't the one that is being labeled here. But there was strong engagement. It was just like like I said, a scene that is a little bit offbeat. It links back with the beginning of the movie anyway, so I'll leave it at that. So this is the analysis of 28 years later. So if I summarize what we've seen here, is we have the apex of the movie is definitely here. Okay, this is the strongest part, and then we have sustained engagement throughout the whole movie. There's a few pieces of more intense actions here, but that's pretty much what you'll see in terms of this movie in regard to what is the most intense here. Now let's go look. Let's take a look at Alien Romulus. Okay, different shape here. Great movie. I loved it. So there's the whole part. Obviously, we're not going to look at the whole like 30 minutes of movie here. But if we look only at the apex here, okay, so give or take 110, 111. Let's go see what's there. Now we have like very strong emotional, like aligned with strong engagement, strong fear. Or at least like lots of muscle activity. Let's see what came out here. So we said what 110, give or take. And let's go see here. So this is the part where you see the spaceship crashes into the whole thing. Can't remember. I haven't seen it in a while. I have to watch it again. Can't remember exactly why, but they lost control of spacecraft, and it crashed into like the smaller one crashed into like the space station, and the whole thing went havoc because of that. I think there's even more. Okay, so you have this. Okay, you have this guy who's kind of dead. I thought I saw something else earlier. Let me see here. So this is here one. So maybe a little bit like 109. 109 is probably still part of this. This is when I think we'll see like a xenomorph coming out of the body of the lady. Yeah, this is right here. You see. Now xenomorph is coming out, so it's got the chest burster comes out. So you see, this is like when the Alien movie, the beginning is more slow mo. No, I mean they go on the space station. There's it's an Alien movie, so it's the whole build up. But here, this is when all the action. They get in contact with the xenomorph. They try to get out of it. Everything goes wrong. They're stuck on the space station, and you see it lasts for like half an hour. No, because then if we go all the way there, which is 126, you'll see that it's still like the same action sequence. It keeps on going on. Here what's going on, so they have like to travel through like where there's a bunch of aliens. I think you see they're trapped in some section of the spacecraft with the xenomorph. Someone died here. Okay, doesn't seem. Oh, the guy he got kind of flashed and it became part. Yeah. This is when they flee. Okay, I'm a little bit. Yeah, you see, there's a lot of intensity here. I kind of like lost a little bit like the track of what's in this movie, but there's definitely like this is where the whole story goes on. And then it comes down here. This is like the end. I'd say of. I'm not a big movie expert, but I'd say that this is Act 1 when they build up the story. This is Act 2 when they start to really get into trouble and face the reality of their situation. And this is like the calm down here, and they manage actually to get out of the movie. There's still a few things going on, but what we find here, let's go see like 148, see what's up there. Okay, there's still high intensity. Okay, this is the part I thought we were going to see. So this is when they flee through, fighting with all the xenomorph that came out, and I have to watch it. It's really a good movie. There definitely lots of gore here, lots of acid splashing everywhere, and then. But it keeps going because this movie there's actually two endings. So they manage to fly away on the spacecraft, but then they get in touch with the monster that was on the spaceship. So now we're at 2 hours in. So it's here. You see. So this is the battle with the final monster. You see. So I see. So this is like actually the scene where they. Sorry. I'll take my thing here. That's interesting. So you see that this is the battle with the xenomorph as they flee away, and this is the battle with the final monster, the final form. So that's interesting. This is why you see, even though surprise and fear tends to be mixed up, we don't see any sadness here, but surprise and fear tend to be mixed up. I still see them as being, when there's a change in the level of these two metrics, it still tells me that there's likely a change in some element of mental state. See them as imperfect labels, imperfect metrics, measurements, but even if they're imperfect, they still tell us something about what's going on in the state of mind of the person who viewed the movie. So I went a little bit quicker here, or at least, I mean, of course we could go everywhere here, but I want to take it to the next stage of the analysis. So much more emotional states, much more emotions, intense emotions in Alien Romulus. We do have engagement showing up here and there. And we clearly see the two parts in the movie, Act 2, Act 3, where there's lots of action. So again, I mean, the data shows us the experience that was felt by the user. So this is what I have. Now I have another result just to show something. So just a statistical analysis of comparing the two movies. So this often happens a lot. So you see, so in blue is 28 years later, and in orange is Alien Romulus. And here we have engagement and arousal. And what we see is that you see 28 years later brings a little bit more engagement than Alien Romulus. This is raw data that is compared here. In the graph, I use some normalization, but here this is raw data, and we see that in terms of arousal, not a big difference, but in terms of engagement, we can see that the center of mass of 28 years later is slightly above that of Alien Romulus, and I think it tells us, this is something I've seen a lot, it tells us that 28 years later is definitely more of a cognitive experience, and Alien Romulus is more of an emotional experience within the range of the data that we have here. And this is my synthesis here. So we have Alien Romulus has the strongest emotions, and 28 years later, intense cognitive experience. I say intense because the level of arousal is high. You know, we're comparing here to horror movies, and even the arousal level of 28 years later was a little bit above that of Alien Romulus. If we were to compare with a relaxation activity or a very calm movie, like a drama or something, it would be we wouldn't get this level of arousal. So within this, 28 years later, do manage to score quite a bit high level of arousal and engagement, making it an intense cognitive experience. Now, it could benefit from stronger emotions, in my opinion. And I'll tell you why I say that and where my opinion comes from. So I'm currently working on I have an ongoing hypothesis about this metric. So based on many results that I got over the course of I've been doing this for many years, and so I mean I collected probably like the 20-30 experiences, always analyzing data in much more depth than what I did today. And one thing I've noticed is engagement and aligned emotional response. When I say aligned, what I mean is emotional response that is aligned with what the experience should give you. No, I'm not talking about if you're frustrated when you should be happy. This is a problem. That's a misaligned emotional response. But here, you go see an horror movie and you feel fear and intensity, so this is aligned. So engagement and emotional response are associated with satisfaction. This is when we compare, when we ask people when they leave the experience, did you enjoy, and they rate it on a score of 1 to 10. So when they like it, we look. If there's strong engagement, there's more chances that they liked it. Same with higher emotional response. But the hypothesis I'm working on is that while both can lead to satisfaction, emotions are more likely to lead to souvenirs and word of mouth promotion. And this is important in marketing because it's one thing to have people satisfied, but what you want is to turn them into brand ambassador. You want them to leave the movie and feel like they need to tell someone. Okay, it's a very different state of mind when you leave the movie. Marketing result, if they leave the movie satisfied and leave the movie with this intense feeling that they need to share their experience, they need to recommend going seeing the movie, and etc. So I'm working on this hypothesis that emotions are more strongly linked with this transition to a brand ambassador and a movie promoter than engagement, even though both can lead to satisfaction. So that's an interesting hypothesis. I don't know when I have like a firm conclusion to that. I hope eventually to do a study specifically on this aspect, but for now this is kind of like how I present these results. So while both can lead to a very satisfying experience, if you want your movie or your brand to be shared and generate this word of mouth, you need stronger emotions. So this is based on what I say that 28 years later, even though it's a great movie, should probably have built a little bit more emotional response into it to trigger this kind of like word of mouth promotion. Without saying that this is a no, we're dealing here with single user experience. That, by the way, I didn't say that, but this is only one user experience, this data. Generally, when I do this kind of study, I'll try to bring at least 20 participants. So we have these two movies, both lead to, give or take, Internet Movie Database similar scores, but in agreement with my working hypothesis, it seems that people like more Alien Romulus than 28 years later, and I do think that it has to do with the emotional experience that they felt in Alien Romulus. Now, this is anecdotal. I'm not making a conclusion here, but it just shows a little bit of what we're working on in this field, how we look at this, how we try to analyze a movie experience or any type of experience and turn them into actionable recommendations to guide experience creators and help them understand both the audience, how they felt the movie, and what they can do to achieve their marketing goals or experiential goals. I mean, I say marketing, but at the end of the day, it's I do think that both works together. There's people, if they feel the need to promote it, it also means that they were delighted with the experience. So it's kind of like work both ways, that by making people happier than or at least more satisfied, you also create better marketing. Time for shameless promotion. So this is the end of this analysis. I hope you enjoyed it. I mean, there's ways to go much deeper into this type of analysis, but this is kind of like the entry level. It shows you the equipment, shows you the kind of results that comes out, how we interpret them and share them. I could do this kind of analysis with the client and explain this. If you want to connect, if you want to partake or discuss this kind of technology and associated technologies, feel free to join the Discord. Feel welcome, actually, to join the Discord. Link in the description. The headset that I'm wearing, I call it the Nucleus Hermes. It's planned to be released this fall as a experimental unit. We're well on track to be there. I was planning to release it last fall. So, I mean, 1 year of delay, but now, I mean, I don't see lots of things blocking us still. So this fall, I think I'll be able. My goal would be that anybody who wants to do this type of analysis can go in a movie and wear the Nucleus Hermes. So if you're interested in that, join the Discord and keep in the news. If you want to let me know that you're interested in, it's always a huge boost in terms of motivation when someone says, "Hey, I love your stuff. Keep me posted." So if you're interested, let me know. The Nucleus Alchemiac, which is the electronics that sits in the headset itself, is already released for early adopters. If you're interested in buying the electronics, which is a 8-channel EEG, EMG system. So anyway, I'm not going into the details. I make videos about the Hermes and the Alchemiac at some point, but if you're interested in this unit, I mean, let me know through the Discord, and I already have like a batch coming in shortly. I have a few units leaving for clients already, so let me know, and this is it. Also, I'm just gonna, if you want to look at more experiences that I've analyzed with much more details, this is a project that Mindscape Emotion I set up to gather all this knowledge. You know, the challenge with Mindscape Emotion was to sample 10 entertainment experiences with like lots of people. Over 200 people participated in this study. So if you're interested in, this is my white book. You can have a look at it, and it really shows you like much more details about what we're measuring, the equipment we're using, and then you have lots of data to look at if you're interested in the topic. So this is it. Thank you very much. Like and subscribe, and thank you for your time. Have a wonderful day.